Hello. So for today's lesson, we're going to introduce construction lines in AutoCAD and a command called offset. So if you look in your ribbon, you probably noticed already. You can see that there's a construction line command which allows you to draw construction lines, which should be familiar to you from our freehand sketching unit. A lot of you commented about the construction lines command uh, earlier on Google Classroom. And you notice that when you draw a construction line, it lets you draw vertical construction lines, horizontal construction lines. It allows you to draw perpendicular construction lines that go through 2 points, construction lines that only go in one direction, which in math we call rays, all sorts of different types of construction lines. So for starters, let me just draw a horizontal construction line, and let me draw a vertical construction line. You should notice that these construction lines are red, and they're red to differentiate them from object lines. Just like when we drew freehand sketches, we drew them light to differentiate them from object lines. Also, when you draw a shape, if you zoom in, you can see that the construction line is actually behind the object line, just like this is just like showing that the object line appears in front of the construction line, just like when we did freehand sketches, same deal. Okay, so let's get to today's model drawing. That's going to be similar to the one that I assigned to you guys. Okay, make AutoCAD as big as I can. Okay. I'll start a new page. So for starters, I'm going to create a construction line, and I'm going to put it at the origin horizontally, and I'm going to make another one that goes vertically into the origin. So I have my two construction lines set up, and what I want to do today is, instead of making a bounding rectangle, I'm actually going to make a construction line, a set of construction lines that forms my bounding rectangle. So I'm going to make another construction line vertically, and when I place this one that goes vertically, I'm going to place it the length of my shape here. So this shape is 7 inches plus whatever this length is. Okay, let's see here. This is 7 inches, and this is an arc. And if we look at the dimension here, there's an arrow that points to this outer arc, and it says that is 1 1/4 inches in radius. That means that this arc here is a 1 1/4 inch radius. We have 7 inches here, plus 1 1/4 inches for the radius of the arc is going to be 8 1/4 inches. So when I specify my intersection point, the only thing that matters is this is a line, goes on forever, is my x-coordinate. My y-coordinate doesn't really matter, because no matter where I select in the y direction, it doesn't change anything. So I'm going to type in 8.25, and then I can type comma 0. It doesn't really matter. Okay, great. Now I'm going to do my horizontal line. I'm going to go to construction lines. This time I'm actually not going to go to construction lines. I'm going to use a command that's called offset. The offset command is very useful. What it does is it replicates any object a set distance away. So I'm going to select offset, and I'm going to make my offset distance the height of this. So 4.5 inches, 4.5, and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to select the thing I want to make a copy of a set distance away. So I'm going to select this construction line. And you can notice here that if I go up or down, I can replicate it above or below. So I want to go above. So I'm going to hover there and click. And then if I want to keep using the offset command, I click on more things, but I'm done here. So I'll just hit enter. And I've set up my bounding box. Now, alternatively, you could have just made a rectangle here. But it's good to start using these construction lines. I'm going to put a rectangle in this space, just because I know I'm going to need lines and need to trim stuff away. Okay, now I'm going to set up a bunch of construction lines for all of my centers here, all of these important points, all of these important coordinates. So I'm going to use offset. Now I'm going to start with this corner here. This is 1/2 inch in. So I'm going to type 0.5 and offset this in 0.5 inches. Then I'm going to draw lines here. And because of my OSNAP settings, which again you want to make sure all look like this, because of my OSNAP settings, when I draw a line, I can start right here at the intersection of my construction line and my rectangle here. Okay, I want this to be at 45 degrees, but it looks like it's doing the opposite a little bit here, so I'm going to need to make it 180 minus 45, which is 135. So I'm going to hit Tab and enter in 135. Again, it's very important that you enter in this value. It's that you don't just move your mouse till it says 135. And then I hit Enter. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to trim this up right now. I'm going to hit Enter just to select everything as my boundary. I'm going to trim this up right now just so it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, great. Corner's done. Now I'm going to offset for this circle over here. So this is halfway down. So I can actually just, I don't need to offset. I can just make a construction line that goes horizontally through the middle here. Okay, and this is now at the center. I can draw a circle. My center of my circle is going to be right here. And if I look, this has a 1/4 inch radius. So I'll type in 1.25, hit Enter. And then I'm going to trim this up. You don't have to trim right away. I just like doing it as I go early on, so this doesn't start looking confusing. I double clicked somewhere earlier, so I just wanted to redo that. Okay, and there is my circle. Next, I'm going to do these arcs here. So I'm going to place a construction line right here vertically where the center line is. So that is over here. Let's try to figure out how far over it is. So this is 7 inches, this is 2 inches, and this is another 2.5. So we have 4.5 here, 7 down here. 7 minus 4.5 is 2.5. So I'm going to go offset 2.5 inches, hit Enter, select the line that I want to offset, and click here. Great. Now I know I have this arc up here. You'll notice as I do this, I'm only going to do the stuff that's up top. I'm not going to do the stuff at the bottom because later on I plan to mirror everything down at the bottom. So I'm going to draw my circle here. And if I look, it has a radius of 1 inch. So I'll type in 1. And then again, I'll trim. Now I need to do a line here. And this line's going to go straight. And if I look over here, it's 2.5 inches plus 2 inches. This line's just going to be 4 inches long. I'm going to be careful to make sure it's snapping to this 0 degrees here because I don't want to draw this line crooked in any direction. So I'm going to type in 4.5 here. And that line, that corner there, should be this point here. So now I'll draw a vertical construction line that cuts through that point. And this will allow me to set up the arc that goes over here. If I've done everything correctly, this arc should be lined up where this point here will be exactly the same as this dimension here. So this from here to here should be 1.25 inches. And it is. And it should be the same over here, 1.25 inches. And it is. I'm going to click. And then I'm going to trim everything down. So I actually can delete this line out here. I can actually delete. No, I'm not going to do that just yet. So trim up this circle. And I can actually get rid of the rest of this rectangle now. Okay. Now I'll do the slot over here. this one here. So I'll start by drawing a circle, and that circle is going to be right here where these two center lines intersect. Well, these two construction lines intersect, they are going to be center lines. And it doesn't really say the radius of this arc, but what it does tell you, it tells you this height, 1 inch. And that height, 1 inch, is the diameter of these two circles. So I'll type in for my radius, because that's what it's asking me to do, is to type in the radius. I'm going to type in 0.5 inches. And then this slot, this line here, is 2.5 inches long, as we see via the dimension at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to draw a line here. I'm going to type in 2.5. I typed in 2.4. Let me undo that. Really quick way to undo is you can press Control-Z on your keyboard. Okay, so 2.5. I'll draw another line at the bottom. Instead of mirroring later, it's just easier to just type in 2.5. Okay. Now I'm going to start mirroring some stuff. Actually, first I'm going to trim up this circle a little bit, and then I'm going to mirror some stuff. Okay. So I'm going to take mirror. The first thing I'm going to mirror is this arc here. I'm going to mirror about the center of these two lines. There we go. Then I'm going to use mirror again. I'm going to hit the space bar to repeat my most recent command. Then I'm going to select a bunch of things. Mirror allows you to mirror not just one object, but multiple, like we talked about during the last lesson. So I think that should be it. And then I need to put I need to select 2 points. I can select any 2 points on this construction line, and I should be good to go. Erase source objects? No. Okay. I'm almost done. I just need to do this circle here, and then my center lines. So circle, select here, and if I look over here, there's an arrow pointing to that circle. Wherever the arrow points, that's the dimension. That's what the dimension is referring to. This has a 1.5 inch diameter, but again, I'm entering radius here, so I need to enter 1.5 divided by 2, which is 0.75. Okay, great. Now I have my full shape. And what I'll do is I want to make these construction lines not visible for a second, at least for a second, so that I can do my center lines and center marks in peace. So I'm going to click this drop down here. And this is kind of a way to be able to see all the different line types that you're drawing with. So over here where it says 0 and there's this white, this is the layer we're drawing in. So that's this white stuff that everything's drawn in. And then below we have our construction line layer. So if you ever want to make your construction lines not visible, you can turn the layer off, or you can turn it back on here. And you can do the same thing with the layer you're drawing in. Let's turn that back on. Be careful. You always want to make sure that the layer you're drawing in is selected, because you can select a different layer and accidentally draw in it, and then you end up with construction lines for object lines. That's not what we want. Okay, so select this again. I will make the construction lines not visible, and then I have my object. I can go through and I can add center marks. The command we're going to use is called center mark. So you have a center mark here. You just click on the arcs and it adds center marks for you. It's really nice. You can kind of go crazy with it. And there we go. Totally finished. If you wanted to connect these two, you could select these points and extend them. But for today, we're just going to leave this alone. We'll leave that for another time. Okay. So here's the homework. You have to create this using the same skills we learned about here. I recommend using the offset command and mirroring. It's going to make this a lot easier. I know there's a lot of dimensions here, which might seem overwhelming, but do not worry. You have all the tools to do it.